You're watching College Football Primetime, presented by Ally. Tonight we have Baylor and Kansas State, but we have two things that college football fans love. Number one, we have rain. A bad weather game always warms the soul. You see it on our camera. Number two, we might have a lot of points. These teams, since they've played since 2006, the winning team has had 30 or more in every game. So points and rain. What else could you want? Jason Benetti, Andre Ware along with you, Ian Fitzsimmons down on the sideline, and the Baylor quarterback, a guy you know, Charlie Brewer, who's in a new offensive system and trying to get his feet under him still in this very bizarre season.
Yeah, he's the veteran in this game, Jason, a guy that can make plays, he can move around, he's accurate with the football, and trails just RG3 in all passing categories at Baylor. He can push it down the field. The guy can certainly make plays with his legs. He's number 3 at Baylor in quarterback rushing yards with just under 1,000, but always has his eyes down the field to complete passes.
You look at the numbers. RG3 is the guy, as you mentioned, leading the pack, but Charlie Brewer is on the hunt by the end of this season. Couple games remaining for Baylor at 1-5 under Dave Aranda in his first season. And on the other side, for Kansas State, just a kid, Will Howard in his 6th consecutive start. Skylar Thompson went down earlier this year. Howard likely to start again, even though he and Kansas State got thrashed last time out.
Yeah, you've got the veteran, as I mentioned, and Charlie Brewer on one sideline, and then the rookie and Will Howard on the other, really trying to find his way. He got off to a fantastic start after taking over for Skylar Thompson, but tonight he will have to be magical as he tries to lead and operate this Kansas State offense.
Baylor, Kansas State. It's not Oregon State fog, but we do have rain. More on that after this. This is the Big 12 Conference on ESPN. Baylor and Kansas State in the rain tonight. And we check in on the sideline, playing the role of Tom Luganbill tonight in dreary weather is Ian Fitzsimmons. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Jason, this is a perfect Texas night, man, for football. It's going to be like this the entire evening. Some heavier showers may hit later in the forecast, but nothing severe. As far as weather like this, you're going to want a running game, and it's good news for the Baylor Bears. They get senior running back John Lovett back from injury. Missed the majority of the last 2 games with an injury. He's back tonight. It's perfect timing. In his career against Kansas State, 14 carries for $169, 3 touchdowns. As you guys know, in weather like this, you need a running game.
Gotta have a running game. And by the way, you know it's a good night when your microphone looks like it's a bag of grapes. So congratulations to Ian. It's going to be fun all night long. And Baylor has won the toss. They have deferred. Kansas State will get it first. Oh, you know, you kind of get the feeling some nights, some weirdness about to happen in front of you. Kansas State and Baylor have struggled recently, but they give you points normally. Let's see what we're in for tonight. Off we go. And the 25-yard line, it will be the freshman quarterback, Downingtown, Pennsylvania, west of Philly, east of Lancaster. Number 27 dual threat quarterback in the class of 2020. He was a huge Carson Wentz fan growing up. He got Yale, Harvard, Cornell offers, but he decided, being a Philadelphia guy, he wanted to play for the guy who tutored Carson Wentz. So 2-3 as a starter since the Skylar Thompson injury against Texas Tech. But Chris Kleiman was the man who helped build Carson Wentz into what he was. And so here is Will Howard getting the chance, and down goes Deuce Vaughn, who was catapulted down by Jalen Petrie, one of the very talented linebackers on this Baylor team. But Deuce Vaughn, Andre, 5'5", worth watching all night long.
Yeah, he's a dynamic playmaker, but they got to put a bow on Will Howard. Big. As you turn the film on, you see the athletic ability at 6'4", 230 pounds, can move around. And I think he's best, Jason, when he's on the move throwing the football. Very accurate when he's doing that.
Quick set here and a stationary look to the outside, and that is dropped incomplete to Deuce Vaughn, who typically has very good hands.
Yeah, he leads this team in both rushing and receiving. And I don't know if there's another back in the country that can can lay claim to that. He's not a big guy at 5'5", about 170 pounds, but he can run between the tackles, certainly can get outside, and they love getting him the football in space. About 15 touches or more are what they are angling for Deuce Vaughn tonight.
He may have to go outside more with some injuries we'll tell you about after the play. Here is Howard, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods rips it off for Baylor. Inside the 10, and a 1st and goal for the Bears on our first turnover.
Well,
rolling on the field, there's an interception. 1st down, Baylor.
J.T. Woods to us as long and rangy, and in the middle of the field, you let the ball, if you're late, bad things happen, but a wet, slippery ball going over the middle of the field late, certainly something bad is bound to happen.
And he threw it to the wrong guy. If you don't want him to take it the other way, that's a 100 and 200 meter guy in high school, J.T. Woods for Baylor. And so the Bears, who've lost 5 in a row but have had a number of close losses, are set up brilliantly on a 1st down. And they will go with Brewer, who's wrapped up and dropped in the backfield. A.J. Parker, the nickelback, with the stop on Brewer, the senior out of Lake Travis High in Austin.
Now, this is where you get a sudden change in your offense. Kind of surprised that Larry Fedora didn't take a shot to the end zone. Defense is out there a little bit earlier than they want to be. In this situation, backed up, maybe a shot here.
Hubert after Brewer, and he slings it to R.J. Sneed to set up a 3rd and goal from the 7.
Just kind of underhands that one. A.K. Patrick Mahomes down and around the goal line. That's what's that angle. He's rolling, trying to get away from Wyatt Hubert, the defensive end, and just kind of figures out a way to get it to Sneed.
He looked like Henry Rowan-Gardner in Rookie of the Year, by the way.
Well, they are set up for quarterback draw big time.
There it is. Good call, Andre. Brewer scores. Touchdown, Baylor.
They just set up in it where nobody in the middle of the field. Everybody's spread out, and there's a big lane there for Charlie Brewer to run through. It's the exact defense, if you're going to run quarterback draw, to set up in, and just about guaranteed to get it. That's one I might have audible to.
Now, we saw the holder having some issues in pregame, and Skylar Wetzel has to just end up on the ground. So John Mayers never got a chance to kick the ball, so no such thing as a 7-0 lead. But the pick for J.T. Woods sets up the Brewer quarterback draw. Andre, did you see it coming? I think you did.
Saw this one coming, definitely.
Well, we told you that there might be some tomfoolery tonight. An interception in the 1st minute leads to a Baylor touchdown. Then a high snap leads to a failed extra point. It is 6-0 less than 2 minutes in. And now Kansas State will see it for a 2nd time with Deuce Vaughn back to receive. And this is through his hands, down through the end zone. And now we take it from plan to play, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual, Andre.
Yeah, you got to count numbers in the box as a quarterback, especially in the running game. And you see just 2 defensive linemen, everyone else outside of the offensive tackles. And to me, this just spells quarterback draw. And it's exactly what Charlie Brewer goes to, into the end zone untouched. It is recognition at its best. Untouched into the end zone, making it look easy.
I know sports announcers say this a lot, but it's true here. Baylor is a better team than its record. They've only lost by a combined 35 points in their 5 straight defeats. Now they're up 6-0 early tonight at home. It's an end around, and it goes to Malik Knowles down the sideline. Knowles getting a block out in front from Taylor, and Malik Knowles is gone.
Well, what a response by Kansas State right out of the gate. Malik Knowles, known for his speed. They told us yesterday that he can really stretch the field in the passing game. But what an answer by K-State. And that extra point, Jason, may loom large. A small win for K-State at the time, but may just give them the lead if they're able to convert here.
And indeed, it is good off the foot of Blake Lynch. So 7-6, 2:09 in.
End around plays, you got to have some good blocks out in space. They get it from the tight ends. Nick Lenners throws a heck of a block along with Briley Moore, and then it's just speed and outrunning the third level of the defense for Malik Knowles. Some clean blocks on the outside. You break one tackle, and then it's off to the races.
You saw at the top of that replay, Chabastin Taylor all the way downfield cleaning out a Baylor Bear at the 35.
You got to have unselfish players if those types of plays, 75 yards, his first career touchdown run. But if you're going to have those work, you've got to have some unselfish players on the edges that will do the dirty work.
I'm telling you, this series.
You called it.
Well, it's not like I had to go detective working there for that. They always score, and there's rain going on. First career touchdown run for Knowles goes 75 yards, and now Baylor on its first kick return of the ball game will take it at the 25 at 12:51 here in the first. So Charlie Brewer has a long field this time, 75 yards to deal with. You know all about his family, his father, a quarterback at Texas, his brother, quarterback as well at the FBS level. But if you don't know Charlie Brewer, let's introduce you. Four-year starter, Lake Travis High School, same high school as Drew Brees, among others, in the Austin area, which become a hotbed for quarterbacks. Second to RG3 in passing yards, and some great seasons for Charlie Brewer. There you see the picture of his family and the football ties as Charlie Brewer will try to run, and he's drilled. Drew Wiley, the senior defensive lineman, part of the bad boys in the interior for Kansas State.
Now he's going to come up with a sack, but it's Hubert as well as Eli Huggins, two other guys along that defensive front that came clean, that forced Brewer up and into the arms of Drew Wiley.
Defensive line, the strength of this defense for Joe Klanderman, coordinator for Chris Kleiman for Kansas State. Second down, Brewer goes down the middle to Ben Sims, his tight end out of San Antonio, to set up a third down and manageable.
Boy, that's the thing. If you don't get pressure into the face of Charlie Brewer, he's experienced enough and he's got enough skill position talent around him to make plays down the field. He's all that experience, how to read defenses. You'll see it all game long if Kansas State's unable to get to him.
He's always been a very accurate passer, Charlie Brewer, scanning his options, and he nearly threw a pick. Goodness, Daniel Green had a shot at it, but a marker comes in, so we'll see if the play stands.
Green just kind of fooled Charlie Brewer. Gave some zone coverage look and was reading the eyes of the quarterback and almost danced his way right into an interception. Would have been the first of the season for Daniel Green.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 59, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, that's big. Big from Drew Wiley, who had the sack on first down early in this drive. Just kind of gets shoved in the back, and he shoves the tight end on the tail end of it, and that's Ben Sims. Gets pushed into him, and he extends his arms. I don't know if you call that one.
Yeah, it changes the drive completely. There is a piece of this, sometimes maybe not be as quick on the trigger of the flags in a season like this, simply because guys just want to play. Like, guys just want to do anything but sit at home.
If you're watching the entire play, and I don't know if the official just caught the tail end of it, but Drew Wiley's being shoved in the back into the tight end Ben Sims, who now he's just extending his arms. You'll see here, he gets hit in the back after the ball's already incomplete. He's pushed, and then he lands into the chest of Ben Sims, so he just kind of extends it. Umpire there is just a little bit quick with a flag.
Tell you what,
he's watching the whole thing go down.
Yeah, and now that that's on tape, by the way, you're going to see other people try to do that. Push somebody into somebody else, create a domino effect, get a flag. Chris Kleiman can't believe it, and he's right. No. I mean, that's not a penalty. But we told you, it feels like one of those full moon nights, even though it's not. Kleiman with his 4 FCS titles, he's still hot over on the sideline. You can tell. I mean, you basically could paint on the facial expression over his mask right there. You know how he feels with the arm motions.
Yeah, I can't blame him one bit.
From the 46, this is Lovett off the toss, and Kansas State's defense is there. Just a couple of yards for Lovett, who's playing in his 5th game of the year, back this week for Baylor.
Heard Ian talk about Lovett and what he means to their running game, a complete back. He brings the explosiveness back to this Baylor running game. In practice this week, they're breaking off big runs, and it's because of Lovett. Hadn't had that happen in practice for a while.
Play action. Brewer's so good at that last year. Brewer on the roll, and he ends up going out of bounds. Ushered out by Cody Fletcher. Kansas State's down a couple of linebackers in this game. Elijah Sullivan, Justin Hughes, both won't play, just like last week.
Wyatt Hubert is some athlete off the edge for Kansas State. And he has lived basically in the backfield here in these couple of early drives for Kansas State. Up the field, he's got good pass rush moves. He plays the run tremendously. Got some next level stuff about him.
They were really firing from the ends there. Hubert got there, and a flag comes in. Might be an offsides penalty against Kansas State.
I think it's going to be against Khalid Duke, the other defensive end from the other side.
Defense number 56. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
I call it on Hubert, but I think they just as well could have called it on either one. That's the top of the screen here. Khalid Duke's going to jump. That both about the same time. I think Duke may have gotten him by just a split second.
Yeah, they restart the Kentucky Derby when that happens. At Churchill Downs.
So a couple of thoroughbreds on the edge for sure for
man,
Kansas
they are,
State
aren't
this
they?
one tonight.
They are fun to watch on tape, especially Hubert. And there they get there again. He just took a swat at him and dropped him. So Wyatt Hubert gets the sack. How much confidence do those ends have right now?
He's got a lot, and they bring him on a game where they line him up at defensive end and bring him around over a guard who doesn't really see him coming, and he's able to get home. That shows you the strength of Hubert. Just the right hand on Charlie Brewer's shoulder pad, and he's able to bring him down. What a player he is. And as I mentioned, first nationally among non-seniors in career sacks with 17 coming into tonight's game, and he's already added to that total.
Kansas State has 3 sacks in the first nearly 6 minutes. Another high snap, and this is not a very good punt at all, though it does bounce away from the dangerous Phillip Brooks. Ooh, we got all kinds of fun tonight, don't we? In the rain in Waco, 7-6, but I doubt 7's going to win it.
ESPN College Football is presented by Ally. Make your money work smarter with Ally. And in part by Duluth Trading Company. tough and genius workwear designed and tested by tradesmen.
We told you this series has featured fireworks at points, including that 37-34 game on the Connor Martin game-winning field goal in 2018. Kansas State is celebrating an anniversary today, Andre. This day in 1896, they played their first ever football game, which was not like the typical Kansas State Baylor game, which gets you a lot of points in a close series. They lost 14-0 against Fort Riley on Thanksgiving Day, 1896. I scoured old microfilm for that for the whole week. I hope you enjoyed it.
The historian, you are.
Big 14-0 game. A lot of wing T, we think. Will Howard under siege, got rid of it, and he's not going to get anything out of it as he goes fading backward because of Matt Jones.
Just tremendous pressure up front. And Kansas State came into this game. They're missing their two starters at guard, and Josh Rivas at left guard and Ben Adler didn't make the trip. And so you have Taylor Portier at right guard and Dawson Delforge at left guard for tonight's game.
Howard will run. Jones got in there again, and it's third down coming up. You mentioned running inside. Going to be tough to do tonight.
Yeah, and pass protection. When you all of a sudden you're thrust into action, you see there the offensive lineman out for tonight, but protecting your quarterback becomes a little bit tougher to do. So you're going to slide the center over to help out whichever's. Portier is the least experienced. Delforge came in from junior college, the number 5 junior college offensive guard in the country.
Baylor brings 5 and gets there late. Howard over the middle, incomplete. He was picked down the seam earlier, looking for Taylor that time, and it's fourth down, Kansas State.
Well, it may be a long night for Will Howard if he doesn't stop feeling the rush. And by that, on the interception early in the ball game, that one was thrown off his back foot. Here, you'll see it again, just kind of off the back foot, and you're not accurate when you're doing that. You mix in the conditions that he's playing in, and it is a recipe for disaster. Got to sit in there and just use the fundamentals and throw the football.
Tristan Ebner has to fall on it, and let's see, did Kansas State come up with a muff? Officials quickly say Baylor football, but Kansas State has the ball. So now they're going to point the other direction, and it is Kansas State football. One official pointed to Baylor immediately. So let's see.
I don't know if he thought maybe it hit a teammate.
Rolling on the field was illegal touching by the kicking team, recovered by the receiving team. First down, Kansas State.
All right, so
I don't know. I don't agree with that one. I don't think it hit a Kansas State player, and it was a clear recovery by Kansas State. He just tried to field the football.
I believe the official might have misspoke. This should be Kansas State football, but it didn't look like it was illegal touch by anybody. Wayne Jones ended up with a recovery for Kansas State.
I mean, it's clear, but I'm not seeing this ball touch anyone. No, just a. The other angle when it's overhead is probably the better angle to really see exactly where the ball comes down, but I don't think it touches a Kansas State player, but Baylor, and they go ahead and give it to, you're right, they go ahead and give it to Kansas State.
And it's Deuce Vaughn right up the zipper down to the 26. One more look, and let's see if it hit a Baylor player, which then would be an illegal touch by them and recoverable by Kansas State. Maybe in the hand there. Yeah, the hand moves, Andre. I didn't see that the first time, though.
I didn't either.
Vaughn on the counter for a first down. Well, if it did, in fact, hit Fleeks, that means Ebner made the right call to try and jump on that football.
I'll tell you what, Deuce Vaughn can run between the tackles at 5'5", about 170 pounds. And we know that he's an excellent receiver out on the edge, but it's hard to find him. At 5'5", running between the tackles, you're trying to find the football, and it's a little bit lower than everybody else, and where you're trying to peek into the backfield and find it.
Yeah, now they got him hidden behind the H-back, and they will instead run it with Trotter up the middle to the 15-yard line. And this is the type of football Kansas State wants to play with its personnel right now.
And you get a lead, and you're trying to protect your quarterback and allow your offensive line to have some success with two last-minute starters in the game. The best way to do it is to let them fire off the football and run block. And this is right in their wheelhouse of how they want to go about their business offensively.
Noah Johnson, the anchor of that line, the center in the middle. They will run off the right side, and not a lot there, but Vaughn with an agile move, and a flag comes in.
I think they're going to have a hold out on the edges as Vaughn is able to out leverage the defense, but it may have been because a receiver was holding
Personal
outside.
Foul. Face mask. Defense number 34. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
Right. Mistakes just piling up for this Baylor football team. You see 34 out on the edge here. Ashton Logan. Just a little bit of a face mask there, and it's all it takes.
He was just trying
graze. Yeah, if you just graze someone's face mask, it's going to be called.
I was going to say he was just trying to come up for air. He was getting mauled on the edge there and was reaching for the running back. So first and goal, Kansas State. And Howard to the 5. Second and goal for the Wildcats, who are 4-4, 4-3 in the Big 12 with a loss to Arkansas State to open the year.
Kind of got to be able to do that and play quarterback at Kansas State, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
The long list of guys that are able to run the football and kind of power run from that position. Colin Klein comes to mind right away, having worn that uniform and those colors.
L. Roberson, Michael Bishop. Knowles already scored on the jet sweep, and Vaughn is undercut and dropped. Jalen Petrie got him. Third and goal.
Excellent job playing close to the line of scrimmage as Petrie, and he's a playmaker. Sees the entire field. Coaches told us he may be their best defender on the back end, and they are really, really high on this young man. Smart player, directs things on the backside. Big down here for Baylor to get off the field and hold to just a field goal.
Maybe a wheel or something out of the backfield here. What do you think?
Maybe a crossing route, a couple of crossers.
It is Vaughn out of the backfield, a touchdown, Kansas State.
Oh, what an accurately thrown ball by Will Howard. This is the last thing that you want to see if you're Chris Kleiman.
Well, it's Poitier, the right guard. They've already got Adler out. They've got Rivas out on the left side. So now they're down 3 guards if Poitier can't continue.
He's up around that shoulder area.
Kansas State facing a Baylor rush defense that has struggled at points this season. That 7-play touchdown drive featured 6 runs and the touchdown pass.
They're eighth in the country in rush defense, giving up about 171. But you see the crossers, and then they do a nice job of kind of sneaking Deuce Vaughn out behind the second crosser. The tight ends are going to cross, and there's Poitier at right guard. See if we could maybe see the injury. It's May have gotten away with a little bit of a face mask in his own right, or hands to the face, but it's a nice throw, and the timing by Howard is what makes the play.
Lynch the extra point, and he does knock it through. Again, some difficulty hands-wise in the rain, in a wet track. This ball clips Fleeks on the way in. Ebner tries to dive on it, can't do it. Bunch of run plays, and then Vaughn out of the backfield, and a Kansas State 8-point lead. So, first quarter special teams for Baylor. If they had a dry eraser for that and they could get rid of it, they'd love to. Failed point after, 29-yard punt that Kansas State may have gotten a small piece of, and then the fumbled punt return as well off the deflection from an unwitting Baylor Bear. Fleeks, one of the gunners. So 14-6 Kansas State. 4:07 to go, first quarter, and Baylor will get it back. And they will have it from the 25 as we check in with Kevin Connors.
And Jason, this studio update is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. Northwestern in need of a miracle. Down 3, 5 seconds to go from inside their own 10. Peyton Ramsey to completion. And then they needed the Stanford band to be on the field. Didn't happen. Kalen Gervin recovers in the end zone. 29-20. Sparty knocks off Northwestern, Jason.
Oh, boy.
All right, so now, Andre, the committee needs to realize how difficult it is to beat everybody you play. BYU, Cincinnati, undefeated teams out of the college football playoff right now. Like, I don't know what they're looking at, frankly. Undefeated is tough. Take a look at tonight's Chick-fil-A Impact players, Cal.
Yeah, for Baylor, R.J. Sneed, certainly they're deep, or leads the team in receptions and receiving yards. John Lovett, we've talked about him, what he brings to this running game. Wyatt Hubert and Jerron McPherson on the back end. We've seen Hubert live in the backfield here in the first quarter.
Pressure coming on Brewer. He's hit, he spins out of it, and again, and down he goes. Cody Fletcher was first. The rest of Manhattan, Kansas was next.
Fletcher has really come on in the last couple of weeks. Got his first start last week against Iowa State, and really flourished in that game. He had 9 tackles and has really started to flash here early. Led the team in that category a week ago, and tremendous pressure by this Kansas State front seven here early.
He said last week, mentally, we just weren't there against Iowa State. Yeah. This defense is very ready today. And they got to Brewer again and nearly intercepted along the sideline as Kermari Gaines was in there with the pressure that time.
Where the tackles are having problems. And then that's the one thing about, Chris Kleiman and his defenses. When he senses that you can't block them up, they're going to continue to bring pressure. Watch the inside pressure here. Just teeing off, they're able to slip through, get small, and right into the face of Charlie Brewer. He's going to have to deal with that all game long with just 4-man rush and then some pressures to come with it if they don't block it up.
Phillip Brooks watches this ball go bouncing away from him as a flag comes in, and he may not have had an opportunity to catch that ball. We'll check.
Special teams killing Baylor tonight. Turnovers, missed points, and now field position going to work its way in.
Personal foul, kick catching interference, kicking team, 15-yard penalty, first down.
See it here, just runs right into him. At all times, you got to know where you are on the field, especially covering punts.
The foul was on number 37.
As a receiver, when you're running routes, you got to know where the sideline is. Big mistakes costing the Bears right now.
Yeah, you don't need to be the czar of the rule book to know that running into the punt returner is illegal. I mean, there are a lot of details in that rule, but you can't run into the guy, that's for sure. As Kansas State will go full house backfield, and Trotter, the deep back, on a first down run.
Trotter really understands this entire offense. A complete back. He's like Vaughn, where he can run between the tackles. They use him in a lot of different ways. They have both backs in the game in certain instances, both he and Vaughn.
He's a Louisville transfer, grew up in the state of Kansas. Harry Trotter is. And off his 2-yard gain, they will run again with the receiver Knowles. And Malik Knowles, who had a touchdown earlier, is thwarted about a yard short. Tuesday, 7 Eastern on ESPN, the ESPN app. College football playoff top 25 rankings. The Fighting Reese Davises have gone down. Reese will still do the show. A live interview with committee chairman Gary Barta as well. And here's hoping that Cincinnati and BYU get a little more love, considering what happened in Northwestern today, and a very good Pat Fitzgerald Wildcats team.
I just hope the committee recognizes just kind of the questioning of where they had BYU last week, and they maybe take care of them this week.
Howard faked the jet sweep, and he's got a first down, so trouble on both sides. Is now another flag comes in, and Howard called for it. He's going to get it. So Abram Smith, with his teammate Dylan Doyle going out on the last play, may have a marker against him.
Personal foul, targeting, defense number 22. The previous play is under further review.
It's J.T. Woods.
Yeah, who had the interception earlier. Yep.
Oh, yeah. You just got to see what you're hitting. A young man watching players that are playing right now, watching this game, the face mask. You've got to see where you're hitting. If your eyes are on your target and where you're aiming, this never gets called. But the minute you lead with the crown of your helmet, you're going to watch the rest of the game. That is targeting. That's what the rule is put in to eliminate.
Yeah, this is an absolute no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Crown of the helmet. He launched. And so it's J.T. Woods who would go out of the ball game, and he would be done for the day. For a Baylor team, I mean, look, Dave Aranda, the new head coach at Baylor, is one of the most disciplined people and philosophical people you will ever meet. Dave Aranda is a buttoned-up guy. He's a thoughtful guy and is a very strong leader. But this team has unraveled very unlike their coach's personality in the first 13 minutes and change of this game.
Totally agree with you. Had a great visit with him yesterday, and to talk about his bunch and his beliefs and his vision for this program.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. It is targeting on number 22. He is disqualified for the remainder of the game. 15-yard penalty, first down.
But after that conversation, to come out and see the way his team is playing, it's just you have to scratch your head a little bit, because you just don't believe that some of the mistakes that are being made here in the first quarter are possible.
It'll be Jerron McVay who comes in for Aranda to play that safety spot. But again, we've had a number of coaches tell us this year in our various meetings that the teams that do not have a history together, coach-wise, player continuity, those are the teams that are going to struggle in the COVID era, because building a culture will be more difficult. And we're seeing it play out in Waco this year under a very strong head coach.
Yeah, new head coaches, turnover in the program, and you have like a lot of, and LSU's faced it with 17 new starters having to replace them, along with 2 coordinators. You see just the start that they got off to. So it takes a while when you don't have the chemistry, the team chemistry, and guys are coming back and are new to one another.
There's the evasiveness from Vaughn, and he nearly scissored his way into the end zone.
Well, he's going to have some career at Kansas State, you know it. Just getting started as a true freshman. And he really realized that Kansas State just felt like home in terms of him talking with Coach Kleiman and it all making sense. Just a shoestring tackle away from his second touchdown of the evening.
We're going to tell you about some of the guys he grew up watching on YouTube and otherwise, and it is a wide array that Deuce Vaughn models himself after. His team went down early. The Woods interception, quick touchdown for Baylor, but K-State's got the last 14 in a wild tornado of fun so far. Kansas State 14-6 on a rainy night in Waco. Baylor going about a yard a minute. And that's not going to hunt for the Baylor Bears. As Kansas State threatening to go in again, 3rd down and 3. From across the 10.
Find Deuce Vaughn here.
Option play. Howard leans in down to the 5, and it looks like a 1st down and goal for Kansas State.
Excellent job of reading on the option. In man on the line of scrimmage. He's going to take Deuce Vaughn because he knows he's so dangerous. They take Vaughn away, and it forces Howard to keep it. The one thing about Howard is he's a more than average runner. He can make plays, and at 6'4", he's going to fall forward to pick up the 1st down. So a fresh set of downs here at 1st and goal.
Mason Barta in as the fullback. Got a block for Vaughn, who tries to bounce it outside and loses a couple of yards. Jalen Petrie tracked him all the way to the edge.
Baylor aggressively pursuing Vaughn, and now it's time, if you're Kansas State, to show it to Vaughn and maybe a little bootleg action to give Will Howard the option to get out on the edges to run or throw it. A defense that's overly aggressive in their pursuit.
Freshman out of the state of Pennsylvania, Downingtown West High School, Will Howard on a 2nd down and goal. First pass of the drive for Howard down the middle. And this is a bouncer to Briley Moore. He's trying to sell it hard. It's incomplete.
It just starts to nosedive on. A good call by the official on Will Howard. Maybe that's the result of finally getting some pressure in his face. Josh Landry was a defensive lineman able to get to Howard.
They're going to have to use a timeout here. Play clock was down to 10. So first one for K-State. 14-6. 3rd down and goal for the Wildcats when you come back. What's your play call here, Andre?
Well, I still like showing it to Vaughn and getting the defense to flow with him, and then that way giving Howard, if he decides to pull it, an option to run or throw. But I would not have him in the pocket. I think, watching him on film, I said it earlier, he's better on the move throwing the football than he is in his development right now as a pocket passer.
It's 3rd down.
Saw the extra tight end in Connor Fox. 3 wide receivers as well with Vaughn. On a 3rd down for Howard. Moving his feet, Howard gets it away, and Moore down to about the 1.5 yard line. So now you going for it?
I'll take the field goal here. Go ahead and take the points. Look at a 2-score game.
Oh, Andre, that's what they're going to do, but you got a 1-5 team who's made some mistakes. Why not try and put them in here we go again territory and put it away?
But you want to reward a drive, and you have the option, certainly the possibility of going up more and extending it here in this weather.
Lynch got it for 3, and they will take the points. 20-yard field goal is good, and it's 17-6. Kansas State. Early second quarter from Rainy Waco. College football playoff is coming. Alabama playing well today, among others. You're watching College Football Primetime presented by Ally. And here Kansas State in a league that Iowa State rules right now, leading Baylor 17-6. We thank you for joining us. Ian Fitzsimmons waterlogged on the sideline. Jason Benetti, Andre Ware, our entire crew. And Baylor will get it from the 25-yard line. But first, we say hello to Ithaca bomber Kevin Connors.
My guy, Jason Benetti. This studio update brought to you by AT&T 5G. Georgia's JT Daniels, the USC transfer, started last week. Threw for 400 yards. He's off to a solid start tonight. TD to Trey McKinney. 7-0 Dogs on the SEC Network.
Andre, Rod Gilmore, Quint Kesnick, and I had the game last year when JT Daniels tore his ACL. We spoke to him about half an hour before the game. He was ready to have a marvelous season for USC, and it's just really good to see him back on the field.
Yeah, it really is. And unfortunate the injury happened, but he has found a home at Georgia.
Brewer on the run is crashed down at the 31-yard line by Wayne Jones. And second down for Baylor in those banana yellow jerseys tonight.
Boy, Charlie Brewer has taken some beating here early in this ball game for Baylor, and you hope he's healthy getting out of this thing, but got to find a better way of protecting him.
Oh, Hubert was in there at Jump Street and Lovett got slowed down enough to set up a third down and short.
He is giving Connor Galvin all he can handle at left tackle. They just miss him. They try to pull Jake Burton, the right guard, around to kick out on Hubert. He just makes him miss. So athletic and so quick. Just really understands the game. His football IQ is off the charts. A young man that certainly, I think we're gonna get a chance to see him on the next level.
Quick throw and navigating through Fleeks. Got a couple of yards, going to be close. It will be fourth down coming up.
No doubt you go for it here if you're Dave Aranda. Try to keep this football, and I think he's changed his mind early here in the second quarter. But I think just from a momentum standpoint, you think about it.
I agree with you. I mean, you're not doing a whole lot in the ball game. You might as well try to hang on to the ball, but we'll see. Will they think about faking it? Brooks back to receive, takes the fair catch at the 32. Hey, college basketball is back. 3 top 20 teams coming up tomorrow, 1 Eastern time. Kentucky and Richmond, part of Feast Week, presented by Lowe's. A lot of new young players for John Calipari. Kelvin Sampson's Cougars. Yeah, your Cougars, Andre Ware, against Texas Tech.
Man.
Look, I know you're on the Cougars right now. Texas Tech, Chris Beard, formidable opponent. Some of the toughest practices you'll ever see in college basketball. Those guys from Lubbock. That'll be a great game coming up 5:30 Eastern time. This is a run for Trotter, and it's second down. This is going to surprise you, but Kentucky has the #1 recruiting class in the country coming into this year. You shocked?
That is no surprise whatsoever. But I am proud of the young man, Tremont Mark, who I just mentioned from my hometown, went to my high school in Dickinson, Texas. And they were outstanding a year ago, got to the state championship or state finals and was unable to play in that tournament. And then he signed with the University of Houston, and Marcus Williams, who went on to Wyoming, playing up there, had 20 in his first game. 2 youngsters I'll continue to follow for a couple of years, hopefully.
Yeah, that program, Guy Lewis obviously brought it to the glory days, but Kelvin Sampson has done a marvelous job getting it back in the top 20 as Leonard has had that catch there with more pressure from Petrie, by the way, who's playing his tail off for Baylor.
He is active, just active on the back end. Petey is what Ron Roberts refers to Jalen Petrie as.
They'll go empty. Jones is ready to fire now. He drops back in coverage. They will only rush a couple, and this is caught by Knowles for a first down for Kansas State, just short of midfield.
Well, Knowles does a nice job of kind of throttling right in the hole, outside or behind the corner, and before he gets to the safety. That's good work. It's recognizing the defense, and then it allows Will Howard to put one just over the outstretched hands of the corner. Mark Milton to that side, and a big completion and first down.
First down run for Vaughn. Tried to step through and got wrangled down by Abram Smith. Second down coming up. We were talking about the guys that Deuce Vaughn watches. I mean, it's new school guys like Alvin Kamara, but all the way back to Gale Sayers and Sweetness, Andre.
Well, I love guys that know the history of the game, and you can tell he really studies it. But he follows all these guys nowadays. They seem to love Alvin Kamara, which is kind of his favorite guy too, and that's a good one to like.
Another short set and incomplete, so third down coming up for Kansas State.
And I say that because Kamara is the complete back. You really don't need to take him off the field. The guy that, he reminds me of Sproles because of the physical traits that they both had, both obviously wearing Kansas State uniforms. But he's got a lot of the same kind of stuff in terms of moves, the shiftiness, and you're never really going to get a direct hit on Deuce Vaughn.
Seen that play out all night long as Howard's got to throw over the top, and this is intercepted. Christian Morgan picked it off, so both safeties and interception tonight for Baylor.
First down, Baylor.
That ball's floating, Andre.
Yeah, it just kind of took off on Will Howard, but Christian Morgan kind of surprised. He's back on the back end, maybe because Woods is out of the game, but they usually like to play Morgan down in the box, showing you some versatility on the back end with the interception.
ESPN College Football, presented by Ally, is brought to you by NHTSA. There's no such thing as a good excuse for not buckling up. Click it or ticket.
Great quarterbacks in recent memory for Baylor, especially. That's top 5 in passing career. RG3 with the Heisman Trophy win for Baylor just about a decade ago. J.J. Joe, who you just missed in college.
Yeah, played for Grant Taft. I did play against him and all of his teams there.
Charlie Brewer wants a home run down the middle, and it's knocked away, incomplete. Russ Elder and Boydo there together.
Gonna find Tyquan Thornton down the field, a productive receiver at Baylor over his career, for 1,200 receiving yards with 8 touchdowns, and can really stretch the field.
All right, so it's been raining all night, and I hear quarterbacks a lot of the time say the rain isn't all that bothersome in certain situations, but we've seen the ball float quite a bit as this one goes to Lovett on the inside, and he'll be very close to the line to gain. What do you make of quarterbacking in the rain?
Yeah, it's just, can you keep your hands dry and the football's dry? You know you're going to get a dry football pretty much every snap, but then it's keep a towel on you, keep those hands as dry as possible, and if you can grip it, you can certainly throw it. But I don't see it being a problem. I always think that it's to the offense's advantage, especially receivers as they run routes.
Oh, Brewer's got a gash. Charlie Brewer inside the 40-yard line.
Quarterback power here. Pulling Jake Burton around to lead the way. He creates a nice crease for Charlie Brewer, and we told you at the top that this is an aspect of his game that's very underrated, his ability to run with the football.
20 rush touchdowns. He's going to have to run to get on this ball, and he just shovels it ahead to Ebner, who's got himself some yardage to the 32. So something out of nothing, little improvisation on a gain of 7.
You talk about the quarterback being able to keep his hands dry and play with a wet football, but the center as well. That's another guy that should always have a towel, but Charlie Brewer just finding a way to get the ball to Ebner there.
That was the old hot potato, by the way. 2 hands, shuffle it forward. Brewer had it batted down, incomplete. McPherson got the hand in. It's 3rd and 3.
Yeah, McPherson's their leading tackler on the defense with 46 coming in, and he's tied for the lead in interceptions and almost had one there. Couldn't get there on a safety blitz, decided to stop and jump, and he's a heck of a player.
Chris Kleiman just got a contract extension a couple of months ago, 6-year deal over on the sideline for Kansas State. Now Brewer with Hubert driving toward him, and Brewer diving forward. They're not going to give him much of a spot there at all to the 30-yard line, so it'll be 4th down and 1.
And I think you definitely go for it here. If you're Dave Aranda, you cross the 50-yard line.
Oh,
you need some momentum.
Spot.
I think they spotted where his knee hit rather than where the football ended up.
The previous play is under further review. Ruling on the field was he was short of the line to gain.
Yeah, we're going to look at this again, and so will replay. But it looks to me like he got the yard necessary there. The ball was well ahead of the 30, don't you think?
I think so. I mean, he's falling, and as his knee touches, it's where the football is. I think he got spotted where the knee went down, but we'll see here at the end of this. Not going to have enough. Well, it's close. He does kind of bounce, which made it look like he may have been a little bit further up than he did or ended.
Yeah, again, this is one of those where indisputable video evidence to overturn comes into play. The call on the field was the 30-yard line. He needs flush on the 29-yard line. And I don't know. I agree with you, Andre. I don't know that he got fully to the 29 here.
He's going to kind of bounce and slide at the tail end of this. And I think the official actually spots it right.
I think it should be at least a half a yard more.
That's going to be tough to overturn.
Our statistician Ed Sfida has never thought there was a first down more than right now. The guy is pointing first down like Red Cashin. Watch where the ball is when the knee goes down. It's a bad spot, but how bad is the question? Because the ball's already across the 30. Yeah.
I think it's going to be just short. Even if they change it, it's going to be just shy. We'll see.
But you're saying go for it regardless.
Going head-to-head on this one.
Yeah, all in good fun until I'm wrong, and then it's no longer good fun. So
even if it's short, I think this is, yeah, you got to go for it here if you're Dave Aranda, the head coach at Baylor. Keep the football, some momentum.
After
getting late
further review,
in the second quarter.
The runner was down with the ball at the 29.5-yard line. It'll still be a half yard short, 4th down.
All right, so you could be happy with yourself. They didn't get the first down, but they still moved it forward now. It was still a good spot.
A little bit, and it makes it a little bit easier to convert here. You go Charlie Brewer under center and pick up the first.
They're going to go shotgun.
All these shotgun offenses, it gives the defensive line an opportunity to penetrate.
It is Brewer after all that, and a Baylor first down.
Well, he didn't, no wasted movement there. Just let's go to the strong side, which is behind the right guard, Jake Burton. and pick this baby up. No messing around.
The third first down of the game for Baylor. 2 of them coming on this 7-play drive. Number 8 on the way. Brewer holsters it, and down he goes. Hubert got home one more time.
Boy, he and Wiley just owning the line of scrimmage, but 56, Wyatt Hubert is some player. Ian talked to us about this, and he didn't have to sell me long once I turned the film on, but watching this guy turn the corner has been something else.
Yeah, Ian talked to some NFL folks who had seen some tape on Wyatt Hubert.
False start. Offense number 73. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Ian, what you got on Wyatt Hubert?
Talked to one AFC scout, guys, that said he's not getting past day 2. He sets the edge with a firm and nastiness to him. And I talked to the Reese's Senior Bowl director, Jim Nagy. He echoed the same exact thing. He just plays with a motor. He's a silent, vocal, violent leader. That sums up 56 for Kansas State, boys.
And you can play him inside where he's lining up right now, and certainly we've seen the success he's had on the outside.
They'll go screen to try and work against that speed up the field, and this screen goes to Ebner to the 25-yard line for Baylor, getting the penalty yardage back, and it's 3rd down for the Bears.
Treston Ebner is some receiver out of the backfield. Doesn't carry it a lot, but they love to throw him the football. Over 1,100 career receiving yards from that spot.
Seven catches in the Sugar Bowl for the young man from East Texas and Henderson.
You see Hubert inside now. We've seen him rush from the outside. Here he comes from inside.
And there are more yellow hankies than yellow Baylor jerseys.
False start. Offense number 79. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
So it's
Burton
Casey
with
Phillips.
Yeah, now Casey Phillips, the right tackle, he's jumping.
College football playoff top 25 Tuesday 7 Eastern on ESPN. Look forward to that, presented by Capital One. Andre, it's kind of surprising Baylor's still in this game, considering 65 total yards and 47 penalty yards.
2 scores away, and any big play, they're right back in this thing.
He looked off Ebner. There goes Brewer, and he's chopped down at the 30-yard line. Daniel Green one more time. It's a loss of 1, and field goal time for Baylor, you'd imagine.
This Kansas State defense flying around, and it's because they can be so active because of the way the front is playing. The defensive line, without having to blitz, is getting to the quarterback, and it allows a lot of different things to happen on the back end.
Well, Mayers has a long of 48. They're not going to kick.
Leave him on the field here.
4th and 13 for Baylor.
Just trying to get Kansas State to jump.
Timeout. Baylor.
So Baylor buries a timeout. You'd imagine they're going to kick here. So trying to make it a 1-score game. When we come back,
Kevin Connors in studio coming up on the AT&T 5G halftime report. We'll recap the triumphant return of Trevor Lawrence to the field for Clemson, plus domination in the Iron Bowl by Alabama, and a couple of really good stories. History made on the field in both Columbia, Missouri and Buffalo, New York, all coming up when you join me and Jim Mora at the half. Jason?
Kevin, thank you. Some great stories in college football that Kevin will detail. As Kansas State takes a timeout, I have to imagine Kevin is wearing orange in solidarity with all the Syracuse fans who watched the 4th and goal spike earlier today. Thank you, Kevin, for doing that for all of us. So Timeout Kansas State. Looked like Baylor was going to go ahead and kick the field goal. And you can kick off your Week 12 NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with the Countdown Crew and the ESPN app. Interviews with Kyler Murray, Phillip Rivers of the Colts. Peyton Manning gets a beast mode lesson from Marshawn Lynch, maybe about delivering turkeys as well. Great work by Marshawn Lynch doing that. Early breaking stories, injury updates, previews right up to kickoff. We've seen one coaching change today already in the NFL. Some Broncos news to tell you about too. And now Baylor lined up to go for it on 4th down and 13. And now they break Lovett into the backfield. They've got to get to the 17-yard line. Brewer has to scramble. He flips it for Lovett, and that is the end of that for the Baylor Bears. Goodness gracious.
Got to get the ball thrown down the field. I know there's some pressure, but once you step out of it, you got to push the ball downfield to try to convert. And even if there's a mistake made, it's almost like a punt.
Well, Kansas State will get it back. 2:51 to go in the first half. 11-point game for the Wildcats. Expecting a 1/4 inch of rain tonight, and there is some of it in Waco as Baylor went for it on 4th down and 13, only got about 4. And so Will Howard, the freshman, back to the controls, and Deuce Vaughn, who talked to us about making the first guy miss and trying to work at that this year. And you see his shiftiness in action tonight.
Yeah, Kansas State here, Jason, trying to just get a drive starter going. Just a play that can pop to get them into their 2-minute offense. But until they do that, they're going to be a little bit careful, try to work the clock. But any big play, you'll see them go right into a hurry up to try to steal some points here before halftime.
Got one timeout left. Baylor will get the ball out of the halftime break. And so it's Vaughn one more time. Deuce Vaughn up the chute to the 44 and a first down.
Yeah, this should prompt them to hurry things up here. Get that first down, and you kind of speed it up. But you see the quickness. There's an edge player that had a shot at him, and he makes him miss. Matt Jones misses. And until he's already picked up the first down, does he encounter his next Baylor Bear defender.
Off the motion again, little sidestep from Vaughn to the outside to get about 2 yards, even though he should have had none.
There's that first defender that you talked about. He told us yesterday, the first guy is not a problem. I see him, as I get to him, I'm already looking at the next guy to make miss. And that's got to be frustrating for a defender when you think you have a guy dead to rights and all of a sudden he's stepped out or around you and he's on to the next defender.
Now he'll split out wide. He got out of bounds, Vaughn did. There he goes in motion, and they'll give him the ball one more time. Got a good block out front. Nicely done by Harry Trotter and Deuce Vaughn across midfield.
Surprised that Kansas State hadn't hurried things up here a little bit more with only one timeout. But a young quarterback that you're trying to protect a little bit and make sure that the play calls he's getting them, settle him into this game a little bit faster.
Howard goes down, and now 3rd down Kansas State, 50 seconds to go, first half.
That clock's still
4th down, I should
away.
say. 4th down and a couple.
Decision time now for Chris Kleiman.
Timeout. Baylor. 30 seconds in length. Clock
So
operator.
timeout Baylor, 4th down and 3.
Seconds.
Odd drive for Kansas State.
Thank you.
Taco Bell's Nachos Party Pack. Delicious nachos topped with all your favorites. Only at Taco Bell.
Ian Fitzsimmons on the sideline, Jason Benetti, Andre Ware live at home. Our entire crew in Charlotte, North Carolina. We thank you for joining us tonight. It is 4th down. Strange call, strange clock management from Chris Kleiman in Kansas State, Andre.
Yeah, I thought for sure that once Deuce Vaughn picked up the 1st down to kind of kickstart this drive, they would go a little bit faster, but this seems like they're going to take care of things or play a little bit more conservative with the true freshman Will Howard behind center.
Well, look, it's like they were watching UCLA Oregon last week and what happened on the last play of the first half at Autzen Stadium. To the sideline, Ian.
That was a massive defensive stand there, Jason, by the Baylor Bears. Nick Saban once told me he values points before the half as double. So if they'd have given up 3, he'd use it as 6. They give up 7, it's 14. That was a big momentum stop for Baylor to keep them in this football game, which is remarkable when you consider all the mistakes they made, and it's only 17-6 right now.
It's a great point, and to that point, the call's even stranger.
15-yard penalty, 1st down.
So Baylor gets 15 yards. It's a quarterback keeper on 3rd down and short for Kansas State, and here's the interference.
On number 49.
It's 2 feet, shoulder width apart, 2 feet in front. Clearly, that's kick-catch interference.
No doubt about it. But to your point, the quarterback power on 3rd down, I'm a firm believer, and you hear me say it every week, that you can't have enough points in the first half of a ball game. So you get the football, you're trying to score.
Brewer dances out of bounds with under 30 seconds to go. And I mean, I agree with you, but you wouldn't imagine Baylor's going to do anything daring here, getting the ball back after halftime.
Well, a timeout, and I think this started at 37 seconds, but you have dynamic weapons in R.J. Sneed, Ebner out of the backfield, a couple of tight ends that can make plays. You got weapons, so I would certainly try to attack here if I'm the Bears.
Fleeks up across midfield and down to the 49-yard line. So 1 timeout, clock will stop. There's a marker down as well.
Flags on the play.
If you're Baylor, after this call, you got to be ready to get to the line of scrimmage to run the next play. But trying to steal a field goal here.
Rolling on the field was 1st down was obtained. After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 56. 15-yard penalty, still 1st down.
Well, that hurts. Those big offensive linemen trying to clean up at the end of the play.
I mean, that's killer.
Yeah, Blake Badia gets caught.
So now the clock moving, 1st down from the 36. Odd clock management both ways and play calling at the end of the half. 17-6 Kansas State as we close the first 30 minutes in rainy Waco. 6 sacks for Kansas State. They allowed just 88 yards in the first half. Now we go to the studio. Kevin Connors, your captain, my captain. You're watching College Football Primetime presented by Ally. It's part of the Big 12 Conference on ESPN. Kansas State had 6 first-half sacks, and the Wildcats lead 17-6. At halftime, Chris Kleiman, 12-9 in 2 years at Kansas State, former North Dakota State leader, the powerhouse who wore jerseys not dissimilar to those of Austin's Charlie Brewer, who got 6 early off the interception from his safety, J.T. Woods. But Dave Aranda's team has not had a strong offensive game so far, though they will see the ball first out of halftime. And so Baylor from the 25 as we take a look at the memorable plays from tonight's game, brought to you by Hilton. Andre.
Well, the scoring got started by Malik Knowles on an end around, picked up some really good blocks on his way to a 75-yard touchdown. That got things started for Kansas State. Then it was Deuce Vaughn on a little delay route out of the backfield. And that was Will Howard's first touchdown pass, and the defense got itself going. Wyatt Hunt, Drew Wiley, and the crew, as you mentioned, 6 sacks in the first half of this one.
So how will Baylor adjust? They will run on first down, and not much there for Lovett. To the sideline and Ian.
Sledding.
Jason talked to Baylor head coach Dave Aranda, and he said it's a simple message to these guys. We need to be able to hold it and snap a football, catch a football, and in the second half, don't take bad plays with you. Shake them off and move on to the next one. And guys, in all the time we've known Dave Aranda, that's the most intense and angry I've ever seen him.
Brewer on the run, and Charlie Brewer's got himself a first down. Dave Aranda, Ian, told us this week his words per day have increased dramatically as a head coach. He's an introvert at heart, has not been the most expressive guy on the sideline, so that is in contrast to what we saw at halftime.
You got to believe when he starts to speak, he can go off. And so he's well calculated, calm, that demeanor, but I can guarantee you there was some paint peeling in the locker room at halftime.
Brewer again on the run, and he is absolutely clobbered. Jerron McPherson waylaid him.
Boy, this young man plays at an extremely high level. And coming up from the secondary and run support, they get Charlie Brewer to turn inside, and waiting on him is McPherson in a nasty, nasty way.
Pressure coming. Screen is on, and he got it away for Ebner down the sideline. It is Ebner carving the defense. Treston Ebner changing directions again. Inside the 20-yard line on a run from Tecmo Bowl for Ebner to the 45-yard gain for him.
Boy, that is the shot in the arm that this offense needed. Setting up the screen pass, they catch Kansas State in a blitz, so everybody's up the field. Once Ebner breaks through the initial group of tacklers, it's just a foot race at that point.
Brewer bailing out. Brewer eyes upfield, and he goes to the sideline and gets some yardage out of the deal. Tyquan Thornton's first grab, it goes for 8.
And Charlie Brewer, kind of like being a freshman all over again. This is a new offense for him. All new terminology, the playbook's new. There's some similarities in what they run compared to Matt Rule's system, but it's basically all new, so it takes a long time for a quarterback to get himself settled into a brand new offense.
Trying to go down the middle, and this is tipped. So it's 3rd down and 2. McPherson again on the play.
I can remember going to the University of Houston, having run the wing tee, and then going into the run and shoot. And it took a while. It took a while as a true freshman before the light kind of came on. Not wondering if Charlie Brewer is going to return next year under the NCAA rule to take advantage of that.
You'd imagine he's the type of candidate who might take advantage of it as he spat it outside to Gavin Holmes, who couldn't hang on. So now a promising drive gets caught in the quicksand, and 4th and 2, you'd imagine field goal here, right?
Yeah, take some points. Reward your football team for executing and moving the ball down the field. The Ebner screen pass really helped, and so you want to go ahead and take care of it anytime you can get points. And this will bring it to basically a 1-score game here.
$29 yards for John Mayers. And Baylor had a lot of energy. They instead kicked the field goal and slow dance in a rainy room. 17-9, Kansas State. Sophomore out of the state of Texas, John Mayers, makes it an 8-point game. 17-9. Kansas State, Dave Aranda's Baylor team gets a field goal on its opening drive. So Baylor got the interception to points early first half. They get a field goal on their opening drive of the second half. And this will go through the end zone. So Will Howard and the offense will have it from the 25-yard line. Take a look at this week's college football playoff rankings brought to you by Allstate. Cincinnati canceled, Ohio State canceled at Illinois, Alabama and Notre Dame stay undefeated. What stands out to you, Andre?
No, Trevor Lawrence is back. When you hang half 100 on Pittsburgh and that defense with those two defensive ends coming off the edge, that tells me he's back. A&M taking care of business right now, shutting out LSU 10-0.
Deuce Vaughn. A little shimmy down the left side of the line for a gain of 5+. And second down coming up. He's been as advertised, Andre, Deuce Vaughn.
Yeah, they've used him obviously in the running game, but he's caught passes out of the backfield and came into this game leading the team in both rushing and receiving. Rarely see that. So a very productive player, and he's a true freshman. He's playing high school football last year.
Will Howard, same deal, true freshman as well. And it'll be a third down and just a couple for Kansas State on its opening drive of the second half. It's been a rainy night in Waco, some odd happenings, but Baylor hanging around. It's good to see Doyle back in with a pad on his elbow.
And you mentioned the true freshmen, two of them, Will Howard and Deuce Vaughn. There's only one. They're one of two teams in the country to have a true freshman start at least 5 games at both quarterback and running back. The other we saw earlier in the year, which is Georgia Tech.
Very young team in Atlanta as Howard is spiked down, and he is very close to the line to gain. Again, that is a squeeze of a spot. He's about a ½ yard short, and we will check and see. Oh, he's a full yard short, Andre. Let's see about the spot here.
Once again, it's where I think it's across. Well, hey, you talk about just a bad spot. It's going to force Kansas State to have to punt the ball away here when they needed, from a momentum standpoint, to really drive the football down the field. Whether they got points or not is, you know, another conversation.
Ebner was waving. Kansas State says that was a fair catch signal and at least should be an illegal play. He was waving for it. I'm shocked, first of all, going backward, that nobody reviewed the spot. And then second of all, they have the waving going on that didn't lead to a fair catch.
Is he waving because maybe lost his balance?
There was a fair catch signal.
Character.
Ball we placed.
Ooh.
At the 37-yard line. First down.
He started to slip, but that right hand signaled fair catch.
It's supposed to be 2 waves over your shoulder to be an official fair catch call. They grant it there, so they're going to put it at the 37-yard line. And this is one of those games where you say, what else is going to happen tonight? Love it, the tailback. Baylor gets it back quickly after the field goal. And a promising opening drive as Brewer wanted to load up to throw. Instead, he is challenged and has to wing it out of bounds.
All right, great coverage on the back end. Kansas State, they go 3 deep, which is just zone coverage with 1 safety in the middle. Well, the weakness of the defense is right up the seams. And Brewer wanted to go there, but the coverage was so good that it forced him to pull it down and just throw it away. And a lot of activity on the back end of this Kansas State defense.
You saw the Minnesota transfer, Keandre Thomas. McPherson's been really active as this goes straight up the middle, and Eli Huggins got the first lick at Lovett, who sets up a 3rd down and 4 for Baylor in yellow.
Well, it's been a nice 1-2 punch with Lovett. We're excited about having him back in the lineup, and then Ebner, who we, on the previous drive, the initial drive of the second half, take a screen pass and turn it into a big play.
That's a major improvement right there for Baylor. On a 3rd down and 4, as Kansas State at least flashes pressure here. Fletcher up at the line, the linebacker. Lovett changing direction, got to snap it. And they will option it the other direction. Brewer tries to spin out of it and does. Charlie Brewer leaping for a first down.
That's a heck of a play. A heck of an athletic play because they had him dead to rights going left. They played it extremely well. The only thing is the Wildcats forgot to tackle Charlie Brewer, who was not going to give up on the play, and then showing you how much he wants to win at the tail end of that run.
He wants the ball here, and he loads up a long one down the sideline, single coverage. Great reaction by Snead, but it's waved off incomplete on the coverage from Keandre Thomas. Now let's see. Oh, they do say catch.
It's a completed pass.
It's a completion for Snead. Initially waved off. Let's see.
See if a foot comes down in bounds. Yes.
Oh, goodness.
What a play.
The previous play is under further review. Rolling on the field was a completed pass for a first down.
Oh, no doubt. You see the turf come up because of the right foot. He maintains possession through the ground. That's a catch.
Ian, you're down there on the field. You were right there. What'd you see?
Somebody just got mossed is what happened, my man, because Snead makes an outstanding catch. I'm telling you right now, no need to review it. That is a catch. That's first down. Baylor Bears in the red zone.
I'll tell you what, Ian, you're dead on. He did just get mossed, Keandre Thomas. And if you remember last year in the Outback Bowl, Keandre Thomas's teammate, Rashad Bateman, had a catch in the back of the end zone when it looked like there was no chance he was going to get a foot down. He did get it down in what might have been the catch of the year in college football. Now Thomas, transferring to Kansas State, gets burned by Snead on what is a marvelous grab.
It's just a heck of a job of concentration. And, you know, when you're running routes along the sideline, that buffer is about 4 yards from the sideline for a receiver, so you can have room to make plays like this and come down inbounds once you go up and climb the ladder to make a catch. And he uses, I mean, every bit of it. They're spending a lot of time on what is a completed pass.
Yeah, I mean, he completes the catch. The ball doesn't hit the ground in any way. He's got it cradled under his body.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
You know, I will credit the officials, and they've had a rough night, but I'll credit the officials for coming together and getting it right eventually on the field before going to replay. "35-yard grab for Snead from Charlie Brewer. And now he looks like that comfortable guy we saw the last couple of years, Brewer. He's from Austin. A lot of great quarterbacks from there. Drew Brees from Westlake. Baker Mayfield from Brewers High School in Lake Travis. It's become a quarterback hub. And Brewer wants to run. He will. Brewer to the outside. Got a block from Fleeks and a flag down. That might have been on the block from the outside.
He is competing right now. Showing you
holding offense number 21, 10-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Showing you what he's willing to do to win a football game. I mean, Baylor one score away, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion away from tying this thing up. We'll see.
There's
right
Fleeks
here.
on the outside.
Fleeks has had a rough night, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was involved in the muff earlier. Ball hit him on the way through a punt, and now this penalty drives him all the way back to the 22. Brewer to throw. And now Ebner out of the backfield, and Treston Ebner is dragged down. A.J. Parker, the nickelback, beautifully done.
Yeah, they moved him to nickel from corner, where they said he's just a more natural fit covering from inside out rather than being on the outside at corner. So they just left him there. He's just a natural inside.
Second and 11. Oh, a little step back. Beautiful on the score for Snead. Wow. Ballet from R.J. Snead.
Well, it's a reason why he leads this team in receptions and receiving yards, and it's because of plays like this. Makes a pretty good player, and McPherson miss to get himself into the end zone. Well, you love receivers like that they're always looking to add yardage or try to score after catching a pass. Not just satisfied with the catch, but hey, let's add something on the back end of it.
I mean, he had a Sports Center top 10 play against Iowa State a couple of weeks ago, I should say.
Keep an eye
2
on
on this
Ebner
drive.
Here.
It's Ebner out of the backfield. Brewer trying to run, lost the football, and now it's fallen on, and that will do it for the possible 2-point conversion. Cody Fletcher busted in there. R.J. Snead, dude.
This, look.
Look at this guy. I mean, a gymnast in wide receiver clothes.
ESPN College Football, presented by Ally, is brought to you by Coca-Cola. Together tastes better.
Chris Kleiman, 4 titles for North Dakota State. I've been in Frisco, not for that game, but for another event while that was happening, and it's like a hostile takeover by the folks from North Dakota State for that FCS championship. This guy is the real deal, a strong leader, and rightfully so, has a long time at Kansas State in front of him.
Travel well at North Dakota State, that's for sure.
Kickoff through the end zone. And at the 25-yard line, look, Will Howard, the quarterback for Kansas State, we told you he's from Pennsylvania. He wanted to play for the guy who tutored Carson Wentz. So Chris Kleiman, there you see with Wentz. Will Howard sent a direct message to the Kansas State offensive line coach, Connor Riley, sent his video in because he was such a big Carson Wentz fan. Wanted to go to Kansas State, got the attention of Kleiman. Now he's a starting quarterback with the injury to Skylar Thompson against Texas Tech a couple of weeks ago. First down, Howard on the move, and he tries the sideline. It's incomplete for Knowles.
Knowles has certainly made some big plays in this ball game, but unable to come up with that catch. That might have been one of the easier ones, right in the breadbasket, and he's able to bring it in. I think for Kansas State to pull this out, they're going to have it from the passing game with Will Howard.
Vaughn, little sidestep again. Deuce Vaughn keeps his feet somehow, and that's where the size plays a positive role for him.
Leverage. You're exactly right. It's leverage. You can't really get a clean shot on him because he's so low to the ground. And the first guy, forget about it. You're not going to hit him. That was Petrie, who is as fine a tackler as there is on this Baylor defense.
3rd and 7. Where do you go here, Andre?
You find Briley Moore, the tight end, and maybe get him involved in this passing game. I don't know if he's actually on the field here.
Howard goes to Vaughn, seeking out that line to gain, and he is going to be a little bit short by about half a yard.
Just shy. The pass actually pulls him back just enough where a couple of Baylor defenders are able to get over there and tap Vaughn down just shy of the marker.
Kansas State still on the field offensively here. 4th down and 1 for Howard, the freshman. Under center, got about a quarter of a yard to get. And they're going to go for it. Howard goes low, and he is in there for a first down for Kansas State. Gutsy from Kleiman.
No better call right there by Courtney Messingham, the offensive coordinator, than to run the quarterback sneak. My favorite play in this situation, don't mess around, don't go in the shotgun, which allows the defensive line an opportunity to penetrate. Wedge the quarterback in there behind a big, powerful offensive line, and let's do business and get back to work after we pick up this first down.
Deuce Vaughn on a first down run.
He's so smooth as he turns the corner.
College football playoff top 25 reveal 7 Eastern on ESPN. Gary Barta, the U of Iowa AD, will be there for an exclusive interview to chat about the situation and who all is in the college football playoff top 25 in the top 4. Texas A&M trying to hold the line against LSU in a pretty tightly played first half, as we have a whistle on the attempted jet sweep for Brooks.
False start on the center. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Second down.
What's the license plate on that car? That was a car. It was a center. Didn't get you the number, but it was Noah Johnson.
Told us he was playing the best football up front along the offensive line.
Howard to throw. He's got Vaughn trying to break down against Dylan Doyle. And Deuce Vaughn said to us, when I'm one-on-one in open space, I got to win that. He didn't there because of Doyle.
And that's why it's a heck of a tackle in the open field by Dylan Doyle. You don't get to wrap this young man up very often when he is kind of got a free run on you. And Doyle held his ground, waited, and then was able to wrap up Deuce Vaughn for a minimal gain there.
Keon Mosey into the ball game. Speedy tailback, and they're going to try and throw. It's incomplete. Vaughn was also in there, split
Rolling
out.
on the field is an incomplete pass. Fourth down.
Yeah, that's
Do you have any question about the ruling, Andre? Because it was pretty clearly an incomplete pass.
Yeah, no question. But this is the inexperience of Will Howard. He's just kind of sitting in the place in which he drops. If you start to feel the pressure, that's when you got to push up and into the pocket. You start to feel it right there. You push up. Now you've got a cleaner space in which to get the ball out.
Another dicey fair catch for Ebner. Ooh, special teams have been rather interesting tonight. 39-yard punt, no return. 3:21 to go third. Charlie Brewer, we told you, quarterback from Austin. His great uncle George, halfback at Oklahoma. Grandfather Charles, quarterback at Texas. His uncle played quarterback at Texas. His father was a Cotton Bowl MVP at Texas. His brother Michael from Texas Tech to Virginia Tech, and now Charlie, the senior quarterback out of Lake Travis High School, trying to lead Baylor to its first win since the opener against Kansas. On first down, and this is Lovett, who's pushed back.
Boy, that's defensive front for Kansas State. Khalid Duke, Eli Huggins, who you saw there, and Drew Wiley has made some plays, and we know the type of game that Wyatt Hubert is having. They have controlled the line of scrimmage. Coming out of the first half, Baylor only had 88 yards of total offense. They've gone on a run in 2 drives, but it has been controlled by Kansas State up front.
Lovett on the swing pass, and he's up across the 25 to the 27. Eli Huggins, he and Drew Wiley in the inside of this defensive line have played so many snaps tonight, Andre.
They have. They've been productive. See it here. There's the first half, and In the second half, and just a couple of drives, a big turnaround by this Baylor offense.
And the defense has held the line to keep Kansas State on its scoring position as Brewer eludes some pressure and throws it downfield. Snead's been the guy here in the second half. R.J. Snead.
First down.
Well, remember, we had him as one of our impact players coming in and starting to really assert himself in the second half. We're going to take a look at this.
Previous play is under further review. Rolling
I have
on
no
the field
reason to believe
for a first down.
that it's not a catch by R.J. Snead.
Now remember, the ball can hit the ground as long as he's got control of the football before it hits the ground.
I think that's a catch.
I don't even think it hit the ground, by the way.
Certainly reacted as though it didn't. Like both hands are under the football. He cradles it. That's a catch. I think what really sells it, or is going to sell it, is the fact that he rolls with it quickly. So quickly coming up with possession and control of the football.
See, now this is one of those, Andre, I want your thought on this. Like, the replay booth is looking at this. What that you look at the first and second time through makes you even stop the play?
I don't know. And 2 minutes is what Steve Shaw was shooting for in terms of replays.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
Now, the better question is, why won't they confirm it? Gets to you and I, there's no doubt that it's a catch. And as well, it should be upstairs.
Officiating's a really tough job. I'm not saying it's not. You hear baseball get criticized for pace of play so much. It's like there's a marching band hitting instruments about pace of play over and over again. And you don't hear it in situations about football when it could easily be avoided at points. Lovett on the run, and he runs right into Daniel Green. He and Cody Fletcher have been so important with Sullivan and Hughes out once again.
And look for Charlie Brewer to throw the football here on 2nd and 11, trying to maybe chop this in half to set up third and medium, third and short. He's completed 6 straight passes. So he's kind of gotten a hot hand here in the second half.
Brewer to run, got by Hubert and slides down. As we check in the studio, and Kevin Connors, what you got? Kevin, thank you. Georgia looking really good after a struggle of an offensive season at points last year. 3rd and 7 for Baylor. Brewer tried to bail out, and he got drilled by McPherson, the safety.
McPherson hanging around in the box, and it's because of Khalid Duke that he comes up with his sack. Duke is able to push the pocket right into the lap of Brewer, and then as he takes off, McPherson is there to kind of clean things up.
Kansas State is 2 sacks away from a school record. They have 7 in the ball game and a 2-point lead. Baylor outgained Kansas State 152-27 in the third quarter to a 9-0 advantage. In that quarter, it's 17-15 Kansas State. Baylor trying to break a 5-game losing streak. Kansas State has lost 3 in a row. And Baylor is going to punt on 4th down and 13 to open quarter number 4. Brooks back to receive, and he will not have a chance as this one bounces inside the 30-yard line and down to the 27. Let's take a look at tonight's player spotlight. It's brought to you by Ally, and it's the 5'5" running back Deuce Vaughn. Andre.
Yeah, 16 carries, 60 yards, averaging just under 4 yards a carry. You see the other aspect of his game, the receiving out of the backfield, 3 catches for 19. He's also been in the end zone. They look to really get him jump started here before this we get later into the fourth quarter.
We asked Deuce Vaughn this week, what would you rather people talk about other than your height? And he said, what type of guy I am. As Howard throws down the sideline. It is Briley Moore inside the 25-yard line. And the transfer from UNI has himself a big hit on the opening play of the fourth quarter for the Wildcats. It goes for 52.
Yeah, it got to him a little later than I anticipated, but a wheel route. And they talked about this happening. Ron Roberts talked to us about how they like to run. He referred to it as a rail route, but it's still the same kind of concept, starting towards the sideline and then up the sideline. Moore executes it to perfection.
Vaughn will not get it. Howard to the outside. Will Howard is in. Touchdown.
Just about everybody went with Deuce Vaughn inside. That allowed Will Howard to out-leverage the defense. All the defenders, they go down inside. There's one player that's sitting out there, and he gets blocked by Briley Moore. And it's easy pickings at that point for Will Howard to get himself into the end zone.
Outstanding choice by Howard. And Courtney Messingham, the offensive coordinator, extra point. Does slide through. Will Howard, true freshman quarterback. Pulled it at the last moment. And he's got a Kansas State touchdown. Thunderous response from Kansas State. Touchdown drive makes it a 2-score game once again, 24-15. Kansas State out of the chute in the fourth quarter with the first score after the third. So Baylor will get it back after a promising third quarter. Not seen much in the way of kickoff returns so far in this ball game, and we won't hear. Instead, we'll go to Kevin Connors in the studio.
Jason.
You never know who the Pac-12 is going to have meet up. I mean, it's like speed dating in the Pac-12. Utah, Washington, 21-7 right now. Hey, some great blocking on that last touchdown, Andre.
Yeah, you're going to get 2 great blocks by the tight end Nick Lenners and then Malik Knowles. The first is going to free up Will Howard. The second by Malik Knowles gets Howard into the end zone. Excellent execution.
Tight end Ben Sims for Baylor on a first down gain across the 30. It'll be 2nd down and 3 for the Bears.
And as we creep into the fourth quarter here and get deeper into this game, it starts to put pressure on Charlie Brewer to get Baylor into the end zone. All the pressure right now is on Baylor's sideline.
Ebner swung it out of the backfield. They're going to say incomplete on the coverage by Cody Fletcher.
He is a good route runner, and the hands are just excellent.
Kansas State fans have not been happy with the definition of catch tonight. They are maybe a little bit more pleased with that definition of a catch there. It's 3rd down and 4 for Baylor. And Brewer down the middle. He's got a Bears first down. It is once again R.J. Sneed.
He has really come to life in the second half of this game. Both Charlie Brewer and R.J. Sneed hit the big one down the sideline. found the end zone. Maybe get him going on a couple of crossing routes where he can catch it on the move.
Brewer to Snead one more time. You were talking about this earlier. New coordinator. We've seen it with so many quarterbacks in college football this year. I think of Tanner Morgan with a new coordinator this year after learning Kirk Shiraka so well. Larry Fedora, who has a great pedigree as an offensive mind, but new coordinator. And there's just so much there to make a quarterback uncomfortable.
Yeah, mix in no off season and, you know, very limited two-a-day session or fall camp, and it's just tough to execute. And then you want to play at the high level. You've got an experienced quarterback, a senior quarterback in Charlie Brewer. You expect him to be able to audible you out of certain situations. Well, it's a new system, and he doesn't know all the audibles yet and how to move guys and protect himself and things of that sort. That takes time to get comfortable doing.
Yeah, it's no fault to anybody. I mean, again, a new coaching staff with a new quarterback, it takes time. But you can expect some level of discomfort for every quarterback. 3rd down and 3. That's again down the middle. And another first down for Baylor. Tyquan Thornton, the junior out of Miami.
He's starting to spread the ball around, and that in and of itself kind of keeps this Kansas State defense off balance.
This is Fleeks breaking a tackle. And Fleeks inside the 20-yard line and a first down for Baylor.
And they're going to get a little bit extra with Ross Elder escorting Fleek out of bounds. And so that'll be a late hit out of bounds and another 15 yards tacked onto the end of this. Fleeks does a heck of a job. Yeah, that route is perfect.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense number 19. Half the distance to the goal. Automatic first down.
Well, there was one thing in that route I really liked, and that was coming back to the football. It's a square in, but almost like he's coming back at the quarterback. That doesn't allow for the defenders to undercut the route. So he can catch it, rebalance himself or reposition himself, and then get out of there. But that's at the highest level right there.
Remember what the coaching staff said, that Brewer feels most comfortable when the route comes back to him?
Yeah.
We just saw it right there. First down and goal for Baylor, and Brewer over the middle. He has Ebner in for a touchdown.
Just a nightmare matchup for linebackers because he's such a good route runner. The hands are excellent. He has hands like a wide receiver, but in a running back's body, and he's going to break tackles. He's going to run away from linebackers, and he's too big for, you know, an average nickel moving inside to stay with him.
Baylor already has a failed extra point off a high snap earlier. This one important to draw it within a field goal at 2. And there it is. So Mayers knocks it through 24-22. We told you 30 usually is the number for these two teams. We're creeping up there, 24-22, and a close one.
ESPN College Football is presented by Ally. Make your money work smarter with Ally. And in part by Tostitos. Get to the good stuff.
This is the very definition of make the best of it. It is a senior night in the rain in a pandemic, but smiles everywhere for the Baylor Bears in what is likely the final game for many of those players. And again, there are decisions to be made after this season of whether or not people want to play for next year. Granted, the extra level of eligibility because of the pandemic. So it's not like players know for sure what their decision is going to be right now. A lot of choices to be made, and enjoying the game as it is at this moment. Brooks on the return. And he gets all the way to the 40-yard line. So the very dangerous returner, Phillip Brooks.
I think there's going to be a lot of decisions being made by both players, whether they come back or elect not to, or try. Some will obviously try their luck at the NFL, and then coaches as well. Who do they really want back in terms of whether to keep a player returning next year or a high school recruit? A lot of meetings and decisions yet to be made.
Skylar Thompson's one of those guys, right? He's injured this year, the quarterback for Kansas State. Might get him back, might not.
I think Charlie
we'll find
Brewer
out in the future.
May be one of those guys.
Will Howard, the freshman, spins it out wide, and he has Brooks for a couple of yards across the 40. Petrie once again is there.
And just to kind of put a bow on that conversation, if you're a coach and you're having a meeting with your staff, not having guys on campus as high school seniors and things of that sort, would you go with a known product that you've had a guy already, or would you move on to a high school senior that you really couldn't go to his living room and sit down and really get to know the young man?
You got the dead period in person as Trotter carries the Baylor Bears across the 50-yard line and a first down for K-State.
And that pressure that I mentioned on the Baylor sideline, Charlie Brewer went down and delivered, and now all of a sudden it's back on the sideline of Kansas State, where if you're Will Howard, you've got to somehow figure out how to get your team not only a score or a field goal, but you want the big points, and you need the end zone here.
Trotter again running behind Barta, and Trotter across the 40. Another gain of 12 for Harry Trotter.
Nice job in terms of complimenting Deuce Vaughn, but this is a sound back. Does everything well, protects the quarterback, runs the football, and he's a more than adequate receiver out of the backfield.
He had the first touchdown for Kansas State last year in the season. It was his first touchdown coming over from Louisville, as now Vaughn attacks. Deuce Vaughn right down the middle for a touchdown. We have a flag down after the touchdown, which will stand. So Deuce Vaughn.
What a job by the offensive line, Jason.
Down both of their starting guards, by the way.
After the touchdown, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense number 13. That's his first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game. 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
So it's on Shabastin Taylor, and Kansas State will get hurt on the kickoff. But Deuce Vaughn, I mean, this guy, freshman, true freshman, we asked him, people have asked him in the past as well, you know, what is it about being 5'5"? Couldn't you have been somewhere else if you were taller? He said, I don't want to be any taller. I like me how I am, and I like where I am. The answer to where he is the end zone. 38 yards on the score, 31-22, Kansas State. Kansas State 7.5 yards a carry in the rain at Baylor tonight, 31-22. The Wildcats with the lead over from Manhattan down to Waco, trying to break a 3-game losing streak. And after the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, Baylor will have a chance to return this, although a deep kick drives Ebner all the way back inside the 5. And Ebner with a strong return, stepping on a 1 tackle, and Ebner backs his way to the 46-yard line to set up Baylor as the offenses have started to cook here in the second half.
This is like watching a good tennis match, but let's go back and take a look at that last touchdown run by Deuce Vaughn. You're going to get the left guard, who is Cooper Beebe, as well as Katori Leviston. They work, and Beebe's going to get to the second level. That clears things out for Deuce Vaughn to get into the end zone. Keep in mind, this is a reshuffled Kansas State offense. 98 yards rushing for Vaughn, 19 receiving, but the only player up front in his normal spot is Noah Johnson, the center.
First down throw, and Ben Sims. I mean, it has been as workmanlike of a job by an offensive line that is really patchwork tonight as you'd expect or want to see.
You got guys all over the place, and it's basically where can we, assemble guys where they're comfortable at this point. And they seem to have found a spot for those 5, and they're winning the line of scrimmage, especially in the running game.
Brewer off the short set, has a wide receiver screen for Gavin Holmes, and he breaks inside the 30-yard line. First down for the sophomore Holmes.
It's like no one can break serve at this point. Baylor needs to score to start to put together positive plays. Kansas State comes right back for some finish.
Brewer to the 25, Ian on the sideline.
Remember what Dave Aranda, Baylor head coach, told us earlier yesterday. He said we got to focus on the players, not the plays. And we're watching it right now, playing to Charlie Brewer's strengths, crossing routes, letting him run more RPO, playing to the strengths, focusing on the players, not the plays, guys.
It's a good point. And now Brewer, see him 24 for 32. They'll let him run here. Brewer steps through one, tries to get to the edge, and gets knocked down by A.J. Parker, who's been really active as a marker's in as well.
Yeah, I think a crackback block is coming here. Somebody took one. A pretty good shot. It was Parker, A.J. Parker, trying to come up and run support.
Hear the jeering from some of the folks in the
Personal
stadium.
Foul, blindside block, offense number 22, 15-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
I don't think there was a 22 on the field other than for Kansas State, and Daniel Green's like, what I do?
Would have been Tay McWilliams, the true freshman that checked in, if it's the 22 for Baylor. Actually, yeah, it's Gavin Holmes, number 6, on 22.
So that drives him all the way back to about the 40-yard line as Charlie Brewer, to Ian's point, has completed 8 straight passes. But time is not his friend right now. Down 9 with just about 7 minutes to go. Again, right in front of him, Brewer to Fleeks.
That's, he's played some second half. That's just going in, sitting down with Larry Fedora, and Fedora asking him, hey, what are you comfortable running? Well, I like this, this, and this. And that's what he's given him in the second half. Whatever he's comfortable with is being called, and it's allowed Charlie Brewer to be a different guy here in the second half of this one.
Got to get at least some yards here to give yourself a chance at a field goal if you want it. And Fleeks is across the 30. There's another marker down. Maybe a late hit. Brewer is spatulaing himself up.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense number 29, hit below the knees. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So that's a first down and no field goal try. They're going to keep the drive going.
Correction, the ball will be enforced half the distance to the goal. First down.
I just don't know how you're supposed to hit quarterbacks. You're engaged in a block and trying to just get there and don't get it.
Gives him a first down from the 14. Moving down to 6 minutes to go. It's a toss. And it's Ebner. And he's turnstiled around. Nothing doing. Hunter Henry was in there to make the play.
A couple of big plays by Daniel Green helping out. in run support as well. He has found his way to the football the last couple of plays.
"12 tackles for loss for Kansas State tonight. They had 7 sacks at the end of the third quarter, and time slipping away from Baylor in yellow. Hubert bearing down on him. Brewer bails, and he's across the 10-yard line. It'll be third down for Baylor and about 5.
He's competing, trying to just will his team into the end zone. You got to admire the courage that Charlie Brewer is playing with right now.
His dad, a walk-on at Texas, who eventually was a Cotton Bowl MVP. There you see the second half for Charlie Brewer. Under 5 to go for him. Third down and 5. And Brewer off the cross inside the 2 to Tyquan Thornton. It'll be first and goal for Baylor.
Well, this is where you go to love it, to finish and cap off a drive.
It is Lovett in the backfield, and it's Brewer on his own for the Baylor touchdown.
Boy, don't you just love the back and forth? Lovett's going to lead block, kick out, and that helps out Charlie Brewer on the front side so no one can collapse down on him, and Brewer finishes it off. But you got to love the back and forth that this game is bringing all the way down the stretch.
We told you early in this game that this series has been dynamic. It's been close. Usually there are a bunch of points, and there's some wildness as well. Couple of touchdowns through the air for Charlie Brewer tonight. This is his second on the ground. It's a 2-point game with about 4 to go. Kevin, thank you very much. Great game there. Chris Kleiman was talking a little bit to us about LSU this week. We had asked him about some of his favorite recruiting stories, and he mentioned Jabril Cox, who's now playing at LSU, his former player at North Dakota State. As this return for Knowles drives him back, and Baylor swarms him. And so strong special teams for Baylor there on a tough night for their special teams. Hey, Monday Night Football, Week 12, Seahawks and the Eagles. Monday Night Countdown starts you at 6. Game is at 8 Eastern on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app. The Eagles trying to climb in that so talented NFC East at 3-6-1 behind Washington at 4-7. You see Tyler Lockett in his time with the Seahawks, former Kansas State wide receiver. The Lockett family has done marvelous things in Manhattan, Kansas. And the Wildcats have the ball from the 14-yard line. And it's Deuce Vaughn to start with Petrie all over him on a short gain on first down. Baylor 3 timeouts with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, this is how they started their last drive, and they were able to really establish and win at the line of scrimmage, and it was just running the ball with Harry Trotter and Deuce Vaughn that last drive. He capped it off with a touchdown run. They're trying to protect Will Howard with a reshuffled offensive line in front of him. How do you do it? It's been the running game for Kansas State.
And with all that, they will use some time here. Play clock under 10. They will run. It's Vaughn trying to pick a hole. He does, and he's hit by Smith on a short gain. Third down for Kansas State, and the full complement of timeouts for Baylor still.
Yeah, and if you're Ron Roberts, how do you counter that? Well, you put bodies in the box. A lot of yellow uniforms around the line of scrimmage, and you're daring Will Howard to pick it up and throw it to beat you. And so that's
Would you throw it here?
I almost think they've got to move him around. So he may go, he may show it and then move, but I don't think he's going to throw from the pocket.
Mosey in as the tailback. Howard to Vaughn, and he's knocked down. It's incomplete. It was Dylan Doyle who overcame him, and it's punt time for Kansas State. Baylor should get it back.
Yeah, the transfer from Iowa has played some game tonight, and there you see the closing speed of Dylan Doyle. Zone coverage, they're just going to plant their feet at about 8 to 10 yards and dare Will Howard to beat them through the air. They're driving on basically every route, and Baylor's going to have a chance to take the lead here.
It is Ebner drifting back, and he goes down to the ground. That is a whale of a punt by Zentner of 51 yards. Hey, Charlie Brewer has the ball in his hand, down 2. 4 touchdowns tonight, Andre.
Yeah, he's done it through the air. He's done it on the ground, certainly. And he's getting some help from guys like R.J. Sneed and Josh Fleeks, Gavin Holmes. They're all starting to show up. Tristan Ebner getting himself involved. It's been fun to watch the Bears here in the second half operate offensively.
Bright jerseys. There's been money in that banana stand for Charlie Brewer here in the second half. 300 yards plus, 2:32 to go, fourth quarter, and a chance for a game-winning drive. Brewer on first down, escapes, and Brewer lost the football. It's down on the deck. Was he down is the question. Let's see what the call is on the field. Brewer lost the football. Kansas State is on top of it.
Recovered by the defense. First down.
And so Kansas State does get the football pending replay.
Brewer saying that he was down. Let's indeed see if the ball's moving or not. That's close.
Rolling on the field was a fumble recovered by the defense. First down.
Now, the ball was moving slightly, but it looked like he still had possession. Let's see.
It's so bang bang because it looks like it starts to move. There was another angle that looked like the ball was starting to move and then his knee hit, but you can't really tell if the knee's down and then the ball comes out.
Which would lead me to say, based on your description there, that the call might stand simply because there's not enough evidence to overturn.
It does look like when Cody Fletcher puts his hand on the ball, it moves, but
play is under further review. Rolling on the field was a fumble recovered by the defense.
But it also looks like Brewer maintains possession, like he just pushes it and the ball kind of shuffles a little bit, but he doesn't lose possession of it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they rule Brewer down and maybe overturn this thing. I get what you're saying about it being inconclusive, but you'll see here Fletcher gets the ball to move just by punching at it, but he doesn't lose control of it. Knees down, ball comes out. This may be overturned. That's a great look at it there.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Andre. After watching it a couple times, it looked like Green's rip at the end of it was what actually stopped the control by Brewer and dislodged the ball officially. You're right. I think he just moved it, Fletcher did, initially.
Yeah. He moved it without Brewer losing control of it.
Either way, some team is going to be angry with this call. I mean, this is a coin flip to beat all coin flips.
He took some shot, though, at the end of that, which is partly why the ball came out.
Watch the knee. Does he have possession there?
I think he had it when the knee touched, and then Daniel Green, who's been everywhere tonight, is able to rake it clean. So I'm thinking he's down before the ball comes free.
Well, it's either Kansas State football with the ability to exhaust the timeouts for Baylor, or It's Baylor football trying for a game-winning drive in an eerie night. A lot of strange happenings, early turnovers, muffed punts, special teams malfunctions.
Keep in mind, we think all Baylor needs is a field goal, but going all the way back to pregame, we saw the holder struggling with a snap. And so it led to an extra point being missed and chasing that point all game long. So it's not a given that, you know, even if you get to point blank range, that with the weather being what it is, that it's an easy field goal attempt. I'm not sure I would as a quarterback if I'm Charlie Brewer.
After further review, it was determined that the runner was down prior to the ball coming out. It'll be 2nd down and 5 from the 36-yard line.
Not surprised with that one, but if I'm Charlie Brewer, I'm trying to put this ball in the end zone. I'm not trying to put our kicker in a position to win it. I want to go put a cap on the game myself based on what I've witnessed go on in special teams tonight.
And enough snake bites this year in 5 losses by 35 total points that any margin of error you want to get rid of if you can. Clock moves, 2nd and 5. Brewer scanning. There's another crossing route, and Brewer's got a completion for Gavin Holmes across the 40 and a first down Baylor.
I just admire all of these guys, the playmakers, when the game is at its critical stage of starting to make plays.
Originally an SMU recruit, pried away from the Mustangs. A tremendously accurate passer in his history as he goes to the outside, gets a block from Sims for Thornton, who's spun out of bounds across midfield.
And as the game has progressed, remember early just how active this Kansas State front was. They harassed Charlie Brewer. Well, he's eliminated that with the quick passing game and getting the ball out. And then I think the offensive line overall has done a pretty good job, or a better job, of protecting the quarterback.
Pressure coming from the linebacker spot in Fletcher. Brewer gets rid of it down the sideline, and the tight end Sims across the 30-yard line. And field goal range at least for Baylor with 1.5 minutes to go. Gain of 22.
And John Mayers, his range is about 47 yards. That's what Dave Aranda told us yesterday. And so they have gotten beyond that. They feel pretty good about it. But as I said before, I am not going to put this game on the foot of the kicker.
First down, Brewer. Another cross. Fleeks keeps his feet. And Fleeks driving ahead. He got some help from the center, Jason Moore, keeping him upright on a gain of 9.
Boy, all these receivers thinking end zone. We saw R.J. Sneed with a grab and able to make a defender miss and get himself into the end zone. Ebner out of the backfield. And now all the other guys starting to Fleeks. Love the effort after the catch.
$50 seconds to go. Time ticking away for Baylor. They're in range to win it, but they got to put it away. Flip to Ebner. Ebner goes high, hurdle inside the 15, and a first down Baylor.
Well, he is going to be an asset to an NFL team. He can run the football and the hands in today's game.
Kansas State,
on the next level. That is pass dominant now. A running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield like Ebner is going to be an asset to some NFL roster.
He in high school in Henderson, Texas, was a wide receiver, a quarterback, a linebacker, and a defensive back. And now he's an exceptional hybrid pass-catching running back at Baylor as Kansas State takes a timeout and the dance party begins in Waco.
And you throw in the fact that he can return punts and kickoffs.
Oh, that's right, on Ebner. Yeah, I mean, he is very much an NFL-type player right now. As you saw Howard on the sideline, hoping to get the ball back after, as a kid, watching Charlie Brewer beat K-State a couple of years ago in October. Now, with Kansas State only having 2 timeouts left, Baylor could, if they wanted to, run this thing down and kick the field goal to win it. But to your point, it's probably not the grandest idea, simply because of the wet track, even though the rain has slowed down to a stop.
I'm running plays and calling plays to get me in the end zone here. I continue to play football and not put the game on the kicker.
Ebner to the fringe. Ebner stop and go. And he's knocked down after a gain of 2. Timeout, Kansas State.
30 seconds in length.
You were talking about the issues special teams wise that we've seen tonight all the way back to pregame.
Just the holder struggling. A little frustration.
Skylar Wetzel, the senior.
And this was time and time again. And all of a sudden it happened after the very first touchdown.
Which leads to the situation they're in right now. Down 2 with an extra point they left on the table. Charlie Brewer, perfect 4 for 4, 45 yards on the drive. 30 seconds to go. Baylor trailing by 2. This is Lovett, and he's spiked down by Elder. So Kansas State can use its final timeout on a loss of 2. They will do that.
Kansas State has called their final timeout.
And so 24 seconds to go. Baylor, remember, was up 6-0 in this ball game. Their only lead that Kansas State took away from them pretty quickly, and the reason it was 6 instead of 7 was this.
All those miscues in pregame, well, they bled over to the first extra point of the game. As you mentioned, it had that unfortunate event had Baylor basically chasing at that from that point on. 2-point conversion that was no good. And obviously that missed extra point, that's basically the difference in the game.
The snapper is Thor Radoni. And we've seen Rauschenberg 99 in there holding at points on the sideline. So we'll see if it is Wetzel or if they go with Rauschenberg or somebody else on the sideline for Baylor. Third down and 11. Will they decide to go for the end zone or run it all the way down? Love it. They will center it, and they will go ahead and try for the field goal, Andre.
They're going to take the clock down, but obviously Kansas State cannot stop it. At about 4 seconds, they'll call the timeout. Yep, there it is. This is a ball game.
First timeout of the half. 30 seconds.
So it's up to John Mayers.
I just have a little bit different philosophy in situations like this. Where if you have time and you have timeouts, you try to score.
Well, John Mayers has been great recently. He was 16 for 19 last year in his redshirt freshman season. Jay Sedgwick is going to be the holder, 89 off the sideline, rather than Skylar Wetzel. So they bring in a new holder. It's Sedgwick. He is a senior who will hold it. Rodoni will snap it. And Mayers for the win for Baylor from 30. Good hold, good snap. The kick is through. Baylor breaks its losing streak. And it's a yellow rush on the field, 32-31.
They just did enough all night long to keep themselves involved or close in this game. And then when the time came to really close it out, they were able to do it on the back of Charlie Brewer, leading them down. The receivers obviously got themselves open and caught passes and made plays. What a comeback by this Baylor Bear football team.
Hey, a heck of a game. We said that usually these teams clear 30. It was a wild one tonight in Waco, and Charlie Brewer, 405 combined, run and pass, 4 touchdowns, and they got the mechanics right in the big moment tonight.
Yeah, snap was perfect, the hold, and then obviously Mayer with the kick, he delivers.
Chris Kleiman in disbelief. Baylor wins it with last-second tune-ups on their special teams unit. And for Dave Aranda, it's a win for the first time since the opener this year. Baylor 2-5, Kansas State 4-5. For Ian Fitzsimmons, for Andre Ware, Jason Benetti saying good night on behalf of our entire wonderful crew. Coming up next, UFC Fight Night. Anthony Smith, Devin Clark in Vegas.